Hey everybody, welcome back to Video Game. So today I got an interesting and kind of fun video for you guys this evening because earlier today the Super Sega FPGA team did another live stream on YouTube and sent an email out in advance that I received along with a press release asking me to attend and check out their new demo. So I did exactly that. I'm going to be going over the footage I saw, trying to explain what I think I am seeing, and just give you some updates on the Super Sega FPGA project. Because pretty much everyone and their uncle is curious about Dreamcast because every other core they're talking about is something that MiSTer FPGA already does. And before we get too much further into the video, I will tell you right now that there was no prototype hardware shown, no controllers, nothing except the streaming screen that you're going to see in front of you. And in the previous video I talked about the fact that we really do want to see hardware even if it's an absolute mess on a table, but you are not going to be seeing that here. You see the Super Sega splash screen as well as the icon at the top. Interestingly, the DB9 port is highlighted, so either they're using the DB9 port to get controls in, or the FPGA does not recognize what controller it has plugged in, or any other number of questions. But that's one of the first things I noticed during the stream. It is just highlighted as being over DB9 versus something like USB in. Take with that as you may. So moving right into the first test, they went over Crazy Taxi, so I'm not going to be able to give you any sort of sound samples of the quality of what they were showing, because this is all going to flag in the copyright, so I'll get you a sound sample in a bit. But I'm glad they decided to show Crazy Taxi because it's a game I know from front to back, and pretty much everyone else who's ever played Crazy Taxi is going to have played it to death, and you're going to know exactly what's going on as well. So we're going to take a look at the character selection screen, and then they're going to go into their gameplay sample footage, which we will talk about right now. Now right off the top, this is not running at the correct frame rate. There's a staccato motion to the overall performance here. It's almost like it wants to run full speed, but it's missing frames in between. It's a very odd look for Dreamcast footage. If this is a prototype FPGA core running on a prototype FPGA board, then it's not at all surprising it's not running one-to-one with a real Dreamcast, because this still is, according to the Super Sega team, a work-in-progress FPGA core that they just have a few games running on. So pay attention to how this woman gets out of the taxi here, because it's going to be important in just a few moments, but let the footage run a little bit more so you can see what's going on. I can't see any graphical glitches. It just doesn't seem like it is running at a full frame rate, but there's nothing in the heads-up display, nothing in the car, that light shine off the back that makes me think that this isn't just what the Dreamcast and Crazy Taxi should look like. So what we could ascertain from that, if this is an FPGA core, is that the entirety of the Power VR architecture as well as the Hitachi CPU is working as intended, just not at full speed, at least for the games that we're seeing. Now games definitely use different calls to the GPU, so it's possible that this is one that just seems to be working, but as we move over to original footage from my Crazy Taxi copy and my Dreamcast in VGA, you can night and day see the overall performance difference. The frame cadence, the frame rate, the smoothness in the image is 100% different between this version what Super Sega is showing. And that's not a knock against the footage, I'm just being observational here. I'm really not trying to formulate any sort of opinion because there is no basis that I can go on to tell you. But watch as this woman flips out of the taxi on the Dreamcast with a VGA cable. There's smoothness to it, you can see her go in and out. If we move over to the Super Sega footage, it's like every other frame is dropping here. It's like you're running this at 30 frames per second in a 60 frame per second timeline in some way. So it is very interesting to understand why we're seeing this motion here. It's a very strange look for Dreamcast, and one that I'm not super familiar with. If you have any thoughts, leave me a comment down below. I would be curious to know, but it is interesting that this is not performing up to a Dreamcast standard, but all of the graphics that you're seeing here look good. And if we move over to my original hardware as well, again, it looks good. Now obviously I captured this off a YouTube stream, but it seems like the Super Sega quality on the HDMI out is a little bit softer than what you'd expect to see, because this is VGA into the retro tank and it is absolutely crystal sharp. The other thing I know is that they're not running it in 31 kHz mode, because upon the entire boot sequence we never saw loading Crazy Taxi 31 kHz. So this seems to be running at standard definition versus the 640 by 480 you're going to see being reported there on the RetroTink 4K with the Toro VGA box. Now moving over to another game sample, this one in 2D. I'm going to go ahead and let you have a sound sample in just a moment. But we're going to see the exact same thing on something like Gunbird 2. There's going to be this staccato motion to the overall frame rate, but everything else visually seems to be in line with what you would expect this game to look like. but the sound definitely is flawed. It is off, so that is something that I can now let you listen to, because on Crazy Taxi, those Offspring songs, we're just going to throw a copyright flag. So go ahead and listen to the music for 45 seconds here, try to ingest what it sounds like, and I'll be back with more details. Definitely has some sound issues there, and it definitely sounds like it's being captured off a microphone and not direct stream, because that top bar there with the controls is so sharp, but the footage almost seems analog soft in a way. And you notice that they are loading up CHD files, not GD-ROM images, and that's something we talked about in previous videos as well, that the fact that they're putting a CD and DVD reader in this, that's not going to allow it to read GD-ROMs, which are a completely different format. So that's just something that we're kind of waiting on details for. But you'll see here that pretty much all of the file extensions for Dreamcast are going to end in .chd or compressed hunks of data, so that seems like they're loading things up like you would on any other source for Dreamcast emulation that doesn't take GD-ROMs. And I'm not saying this is emulation, I'm just talking about how these things work. Now moving over to Street Fighter 2, another classic on the Dreamcast, this seems to be a little bit sharper in the video output, so I'm kind of getting confused as to why Gunbird 2 looks softer than this one. It's just observational, I'm really not quite sure what's going on there. I'm not sure what's going on with that DB9 port being selected in that top menu bar. I'm not even sure what the top menu bar is in fact intended to be used for. I'm sure that overlay could be turned off if real hardware shipped. I don't think anyone will want that on their screen the entire time. And just like every other demo, there is a weird screen motion to this. You can also see that timer runs fast, but that's pretty kind of standard for Street Fighter 2, so it is hard to say. But as we go back to real Dreamcast footage, the number one takeaway of the footage we're seeing here is that none of the frame rates or the frame pacing seem to be down to real Dreamcast standards. But on the visual side of things, I cannot detect a single glitch in any of the footage here whatsoever. And that's very surprising to me. I didn't expect in any sort of Dreamcast FPGA demo to see everything looking correct outside of the frame rate. I expected there to be some corruption in some of the graphics, maybe some polygons that didn't have the correct textures or any textures whatsoever, some freezing or otherwise. And that is what's really getting me confused about this overall demo. And of course it was just a thin slice. It went to black right there when they ended the stream without saying much of anything whatsoever. So this is just an interesting thing, and you are just watching footage from a real Dreamcast now. The Super Sega team says this is running on an FPGA board, and I have no way to ascertain whether or not that is true. I am an optimist. I have no reason to not believe people until I've been proven otherwise, but this again is a very strange demo and a very strange circumstance. If this FPGA board is running Dreamcast games even at a bad frame rate, they would be the first to be able to accomplish something like this as far as we know. And interestingly enough, there was a visual countdown that goes to a black screen and then this Super Sega splash screen without any sort of source changing. So either Super Sega plays videos, they've got some sort of black magic switch in the background where they're switching sources, or any other option available. And that is just the really confusing thing to me here. They did send along a PDF with this, but it's mostly biographical information that doesn't really seem to be that useful for an FPGA video. One of the lead developers apparently wrote a custom camera codec for cinema cameras, and that is something I deal with day in and day out, both on the channel and in my professional life. So if you can write one of those, maybe you can make a Dreamcast core. Is this real? Is this not? I do not know. I have no way of telling right now. You tell me what you think down below, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye.